No, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us. We are bringing this webinar to showcase an incredible new open source tool to help you navigate modern security challenges. On today's episode, we have Filipi. Pires. He's the creator of DrogonSec and our very own advisor for the Puerto Rico Cybersecurity and AI Center of Excellence. How are you doing, Filipi? How are you doing for you?
Doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I believe that today's agenda, we're going to cover the evolution of open source scanners, introduce DrogonSec, dive into its unique unify engine, and show how we are using AI for remediation. Is that right?
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. So let's talk about DrogonSec. When was it built?
Yeah, exactly. When I was in the past, I was very involved with many different open source projects. And actually, DrogonSec was inspired by the other project called ORSec, which is another product, another open source that I was involved in the past. But let's say that project was organized or was created by another company called Supernovation, one is the company that I worked in the past. But after the company was bought to another big bank in Brazil, and by the way, I'm Brazilian, but I'm living here in Portugal. Just information, and they decided to keeping this project open it to the community, but they never more updated the project. The last update was 4 years ago, and I tried to pushing those guys and to try to update the project or keeping this project works, but unfortunately, they decided, don't update anything. And based on that, I decided to create my own project, And based on that experience that I had in the past with an AppSec and application security, and I know
Mhm.
how complicated it is to building new, let's say, a new applications, and sometimes we need to look into that perspective. So how we can build in that, mainly in that moment that we are adding many different AIs in the project. So using this kind of vibe coding, so you're producing kind of code and you never know if this code is really safe or not safe. So based on that, I decided to create in the DrogonSec.
No, that's actually a pretty cool story. And this is not all you do. I know I jumped right into the DragonSec, but if our viewers have been paying attention, you've been around not only with Raices, but can you walk us through a little bit a snapshot of your history?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I have a quite different story because I started in sales, not exactly in the technical field, let's say. So I started in sales in the past. So and we have a few videos here in the Raices YouTube channel talking about myself and how I started in the cyber. And I was involved the last 2 years in the RSA scholarship that I could share my experience. So like there are a bunch of things that we learn in our field that's is interesting to share with the people. Like sometimes we think that's kind of weakness that you have when is graduated in another let's say area, but it can be an strengthening when you think about cyber. You can use in this as a strengthening, not exactly a weakness. That's the important thing here. So that's the things that I'm trying to share with the people. So in 2015 I moved into cyber, so actually 11 years ago. So I started in defensive side, and after that I moved into the offensive side. And I lived in Poland. I live in Brazil, and now I'm living in Portugal. I moved into the US in the past, so I quite moving across the globe, let's say, across the globe. And that's basically. And now I'm the head of technical advocacy at Scythe. Scythe basically is a platform and the product responsible for working in specific and diverse exposure in validation tools is let's say is part of the umbrella about CTAIN, continued threat emulation and management. It's a part of Gartner type of things. And I'm
Mhm.
leading this technical area in EMEA region, which is Europe and in Africa and Middle East, in Brazil, Latin America. This is a very nice opportunity to grow the company. It's actually the company is very known in US. It's this company was founded by Bryson Bort, with a very known guy in cyber. He lives in Tampa, and it's a very nice opportunity to help in this organization to grow globally. So that's my main role. And of course, I founded the Cross Intel, which is a part of the company that's founded by me and my wife, which is Ana Pires. and we basically helping other organizations to grow in different markets. Let's say working specifically in DTM, go to market. And yeah, so basically, and DrogonSec is developed by myself, and of course is open source for the communities, but is maintained by CrossIntel. You share basically right now,
Yeah.
quickly.
Oh, that's
Let me
really
just
awesome. Yeah.
let me just share my screen here, and we can, let's say, start this technical things and walk through. Let me just share
Yes,
my screen
absolutely. Walk us
here.
through the tool.
Mm-hmm. And second, let me just put you guys in this side here, in this my right side here, and I'm
And
supposing
you
we are.
mentioned application security, right? And your experience with application security. And
Yes.
in a past life, I used to work for an application security company. And one of the things that it's hard, and coming from the sales side, you get that perspective, right, of different teams and how they communicate and everything else. And one thing is like, even though everything is an app and everything's connected, it's still not addressed with the urgency, right? Especially with vibe coding, everybody's doing their own app too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. That's the key. So I was talking with one friend of mine, and he said to me, "Okay, I'm just trying to, I'm looking here because I'm looking to my right side into looking to you.
Yes.
So and then not only you, but I look into the chat. So if you have any questions, guys, can type in the chat, and I can look and we can interact. Let's keeping this more interactive. You can do that as well. If you have any questions, just put in there. It's no problem. I can answer you. And but basically, so that's the key. I was talking with the friend of mine, and he said, Let me just create an open source project to helping some people, to create a kind of product and creating using AI." And after that, he said, "Okay, it's done. I made many tests." And he came to me and said, "Let me just test in DrogonSec." And it's just a few line of codes, and he came to me and he said, "Man, I found 520 whatever vulnerabilities in the code.
Wow.
500 plus 500. You can imagine that. It's crazy because, like, imagine. So he creating, of course, is not a productive environment, but I mean, he will offering this for the community, but he's a developer. Like, he's not a, I mean, he's an engineering. He's not exactly a security guy, but he using, as I said, the vibe code. So that's the key.
Hmm.
That's quite challenging. But anyway, so let's talk about DrogonSec. As I said, it's basically DrogonSec. It's built by myself, but the main thing here is just based on a specific key concepts. One of these concepts is called SAST, which is Statistical Application Security Testing. So the differentiator when you think about the other products is plus the 20 language, which is not traditional programming language, like for example Python, Java, JavaScript, or whatever, but our idea when I building this is to putting in another way, let's say, is to adding more programming language. It's quite challenging sometimes because many companies they have a traditional programming language, but sometimes came in another different projects with another different programming language. Let's say, for example, Elixir, Erlang is not traditional programming language when you think about Golang or JavaScript. So how can keeping this safe? So that's the curiosity about that. And that's the way that I created. Another thing is based on SCA, which is software composition analysis, focus on specifically dependencies that you add in the code. So that's the way that we adding that, and we decide to adding leaks, like looking for possible secrets detections when you found a kind of exposed of secrets in the code, like let's say for example AWS secrets or GCPs or using GWT or CCH keys, or something that you sometimes you adding when if you're not a security guy, sometimes you adding the code, and that's a quite challenge. So that's the way that I'm creating the DrogonSec. Here is a step by step how you can install that using a specific command I walking through after that. It's just a documentation here using GitHub, how you can do that as well. But I creating a proper, let's say this, let me clicking here, the DrogonSec doc. So this is the full documentation that you can access here using, as I said, CrossIntel. It's maintained by CrossIntel. It's here more the let's say the easy way to look into the DrogonSec, as I said. So just walking through this, the installation process here is just a simple, like you can download, for example, the code, the vulnerable, or I mean the binary, or you can create it. This is two specifically method. One is let's say using from source code. This is basically the way that I will using here in our live today is pretty simple. Git cloning, just cloning the repository, go to the DrogonSec file and make install. It's as simple like this. So I can just came here to the CLI, which is command line interface. Let me just copy here, and let me just paste here in the CLI. As you can see, I just paste. I can, let's say, they fill out because I use in the past, but I just clicking enter here. They cloning the repository. They call to the internet. And if I go here to the DrogonSec repository, it's just, as you can see that, and it's everything is over here. So I'm just listing here the repository and see many things, as you can see here. I put in LSA and H for human just to convert the information here, but it's just as you can see, many informations here. But if you see in the doc, if I go back here, I should type here, make install. So if I go back here, I'm just typing here, make install, and I can install everything. So just clicking enter, and they will install the binary. So if you see they build the binary, and they go everything, downloading everything, and they will basically creating the proper binary here, which is the binary to be to execute itself the application. Okay, I'm just between the review downloading here. I'm just checking if some other things here, guys, to you. Okay, so as you can see, install the binary and they move into dash bin, as you can see here. Okay, DrogonSec, and install a DrogonSec to the local bin, which is just to run the binary and other things like this. Okay, just see something here. I just confirm. Okay, codes, doc, URLs, perfect. Let me just, the next suggestion of, as you can see, is if I want to just confirm if this binary is the correct version, I could, let's say, set this, but I'm not necessary to type in that. I just put in DrogonSec here, as you can see, DrogonSec, and you can just put in dash dash version. Remember that? It's in the doc. As you can see, the version not doesn't works. Why doesn't work? Dash dash version. I'm just checking here. Okay, I should type scan or version. I mean, just version. You see, it's not necessary. It's interesting. So I should update version. Okay, now it's correct. So it's interesting because if you see here, I should update the version as I show you here in the doc. I'm just looking here to you. Okay. So if you see here, I put in dash dash version, but it's incorrect. So on the command is correct as dash version. So I should update the doc here, but it's not a problem. I will do after. But okay, how's the next step? So if you go back to the documentation, so you can see here the second method to using, I mean, here, install by Golang. I could use in this, but I using the cloning the repository. I don't need to using that. In the other way, it's more, let's say, enterprise way to using this Docker component. So you can download the Docker, you can run directly in the Docker, okay? And if you want to, you can build it manually here. It's another way. And basically here how it works, the platform itself, okay? So let me just keep in here, look into the documentation. So basically troubleshooting, if you have any problems, you can check that if you want, other things. So let's click in modules here just to look into that. As I said, this is basically, let me just be best to look in. If I want to run just a DrogonSec, just for an specifically modules, as you can see, if I want to exclude, for example, I can set no SAST or no SCA or no leaks. I can do that as well. And if I want to enable the AI, I can do that as well. So normally, actually for AI, I will go after to explain. You can enable the Olama OSS. You can using that, but the way that we're creating, for example, AI is how you can plug in your AI inside of the platform. So that's one way that we decide to creating the DrogonSec. Of course, we have the intelligence behind the scenes working, recommending, and I will show you very briefly how you can do that. But if you want, you can add your proper AI as a connector in the DrogonSec. That's another thing that we create. So if you go back here, basically the things that we use, we decide to create in the SAST based on the most common vulnerabilities. As you can see here, some example, and based on OWASP, if you see, it's based on OWASP top 10. Okay, so basically here is the SAST rules, how you use, how we working in terms of, let's say, YAML files, how you can create. If you want to build in, for example, and a proper, let's say, expression regulation, you can, or the regex, you can use in that if you want to as well, okay? And if you go to, for example, SCA, as I said, the analysis composition or software's composition analysis, you can walk in through those components, as you can see in the manifest file. So this is another way that you can running. Here, how you can explain the leaks, for example, as I said. So for cloud AWS is access key IDs, secrets access keys, and session tokens. As I said, sometimes you are a developer, you doesn't care about, security. I mean, sometimes you just, your concern is just to building the right code, and
Yep.
you're just sending to the QA, the quality assurance, to see if it's have a code smell or something like this. But you go to, let's say, the standard about security, but you not think about the let's say, the bug hunter or the threat
Mhm.
actor. So how you can think in that. So that's the way that we decide to create those detections, those categories about detection, even for generic things like hard code password, but you're trying to see more critical information inside of the code. This is the improvement that we bring to this specifically project. This is interesting. If you see here, like, for example, what is here is strip secret keys for payment things. So that's is quite different if you think about, like SAST solutions, or even for leak of credentials inside of the code. So again, sometimes we create a kind of API integrations using, for example, that we integrate with a Stripe or other method, and sometimes we expose those data in the code. So that's one way you can check that. So if you go to use it example for here, you can see how you can use the basic comments. So basically, as you can see here, DrogonSec, you have a few comments to use. So if I just normally, if you have a test in any specifically tool, my recommendation to you is set, for example, dash dash help, for example. So to see what kind of command you can use. And so here is the usage, for example, DrogonSec scan. You can set the project. You can set, for example, format. You can set here, for example, the exactly the format of the output. And if you see here, the severity, for example. In this case, you can set the high. Just an example of usage. Here, how you can compile the code, how you can set the help, the command that I used, and the monitor a remote Git branch. If you want, it's a new feature that I created by a specifically feature request that was very interesting. One CTO, I mean, the startup company in France, they reached
Mhm.
out to me on LinkedIn, and he asked me if we can monitoring the Git branch, and I said, yeah, you can do that, but I decide just to improving that things. Okay, roles, how I can manage it, and this kind. I think that's most important thing is about eScan. Okay, and if I go here, let me just put in DrogonSec, and I need to set here the eScan temp. Let me just put in the stamp. Let me just check if I have something in this file here. Let me go CLS and temp, and let's see if I have a code here, vulnerable. Oh, let me just see here. I don't have temp. Let me just check in here. I guess we don't have this. That's bad. I'm just checking here. If you have test. Yeah, I don't have any. I'm just checking 1 second. Let me just see here for vulnerable codes, just to do a kind of test. Oh, I know that I can test here. Let me just checking here. Let me just go back here to this Filipi Pires 86 GitHub. Okay. Okay. Let me just go back to, I have a few things here. Here's in live, right? So
Mhm.
if you have any questions, guy, that's the moment to
Yeah.
make some question.
Absolutely. We do have a question on this chat, and you mentioned actually you brought up something very interesting. It was about the relationship again with the developers and security, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
very famous book called The Famous Project that goes and details that, right? All the red tape and the communication skills without it. Having said that, in application security, you mentioned the OWASP 10, right? To those that don't know, right? Um, how does the tool software composition analysis engine specifically help teams tackle these growing supply chain threats?
Exactly. That's the thing. When you have, for example, when you adding some, let's say, these libraries inside of the code. So sometimes you're using this kind of difference to putting every, let's say, code in the I mean the library inside of the code. So that's the things that sometimes happen when you're building some application. You're just trying to looking, for example, in an Reddit or another platform to trying to get more, let's say, informations from those platforms. You can add in the libraries. You don't have a concern about, okay, this library is updated or not updated, is the last one or not, or not, or is not updated library. And you're just adding the code, and you don't doesn't matter if it's updated or not. Like, for example, if I came here, if I put in, for example, apt full upgrade, for example, that you ask me if I can, I need to put in here sudo, and they will ask me if I want to moving forward, and I just put in here just to briefly thing. So if you see here, they will ask him, okay, this in my case is updated, okay, but sometimes it's not updated, it's not upgraded. So that's the key. When you're adding something in the code, sometimes it's vulnerable, and that's the big thing when you think about supply chain and other things. So when you did that, so you can see just get, yeah, it can be the vulnerable code, and that's the big concern. You put in let's say vulnerable code inside of your proper applications, and you open to this for the attackers, so they came to you and they can see your code if it's vulnerable or not vulnerable, like, and they, when they found a kind of vulnerability, they can explore you, and that's the key. Okay,
Excellent.
so let me just moving to this for demo. Yeah, okay, now it's okay. And let me go to demo. I have here a few vulnerable codes just to let you know. And now we can use for DrogonSec, scan, and I just can type enter here. If you see, they start to, it's very fast, by the way. I'm just run. It's pretty simple here. I'm not using here AI. I'm just using the intelligence behind the scenes here. So if you see, they found, for example, 18 files across 5 programming language. They run this specific engine, which is responsible for looking for vulnerabilities, leaks in the code, and they try to find any, let's say, SCA. So if you go back here, they bring you the information about how many is high, how many is medium or low. It's just a simple code here, vulnerable. So if you go back here, they will show, okay, what is the file exactly in that folder? So this is basically the file vulnerable, as you can see here. Okay, this is the role behind of behind of the code vulnerable. In this case, I just running in that specifically path, as you can see here, vulner underscore code slash demo. But they work in the hierarchical way. So it means that they will looking for every single information inside of that folder, as you can see here. So if you go, you can see the following, the API, utils, and in the specifically code here inside of Go Lang specifically, and this specifically role. And if you see the OASP has mentioned it, in this case, it applies to a failure cryptography, which is MD5 is cryptographically broken, and he brings to the explanations and how you can fix that just to move into another cryptography. And here's the reference, which is pretty interesting. So if you click in here, for example, and open the link, they will share with you how you can fix that. Not only fix that, but how is this CWE, which is the common weakness enumeration, okay, based on MITRE, but they explain to you why this is important. Okay, so it's a kind of learning knowledge base that you can walk in through here. Okay, so if you go back into the second one, is hard coded database password, which is as you can see here in PHP, another programming language. Okay, and if you see here is the role is in PHP, and this is the same it's the same role, it's the same WASP. I mean, is the same, but if you see here is another CVE, is CWE. Why is another? Because it's in PHP. It's different. So basically here is the specifically code. If you go back here, it's quite the same. They show you where is the exactly path in the code that you should fix here. Okay. So if you go back here, they bring the information. If you click in here, the link will be quite the same. Like for example, is the same CWD. Let me just check in here if it's the same or not the same. Is to 259, and this one first here is 327, which is different. So it's two different type of CWE, which is important things because, as I said, this is two different programming language. Okay. So if you see here, the leak of findings. So basically here is another one. It's basically hard coded detected. So it should be, let's say, sent to a specifically secret manager, which is another way that you can fix this. Because normally you should use it, for example, a semi-specifically platform. Because so if you go back in the code, let's say, let me just go here, for example, and type dash code. Just putting here dash code. Trying to open here. Let's start into this the VS Code. I'm just opening to you the code and to show you here. I'll just go to the, okay, I don't want to using that. I'm just open the folder and let me go to the DrogonSec is invulnerable code demo and let me open here. So if you go back here, is in there. Okay, I cannot close it here because I need to open another one here. No problem. Just open another one. DrogonSec and full code demo, and let me just put in DrogonSec scan and let me go here to vulnerable code demo and PHP. Okay, it's in PHP. Let me go back here. Yes, let me trust in here. This guy PHP is in. Let me just go here. This one here, no, this one, the second one here. In the select doc PHP 12, which is this one here. So this is the basically the folder, I mean the file select doc PHP, okay? And here is the path, let's say, in the clear test. So we should use in here, for example, the secret manager platform. So we should use it, for example, on variable of the environment to set into this specifically tool, the secret manager, and this tool could be responsible, let's say, for example, the HashiCorp or other platform, like, for example, I know that Segura, my previous company, they have a kind of solution with that, and in the others vendors that can help you to protecting that. This is another way. But most common is, let's say, the HashiCorp, because they have a kind of open source version, and of course, when you need to scale that, they need to pay for the enterprise version. But and just to one of briefly information. But basically, this is the way that the cross the DrogonSec works. I'm just go closing here. We just go back here, and if you go back here, okay, this I show you here installing manually. Let me see here in the security just to explain to you how this works. So here, how you can, let's say, preventing against, for example, cross-site scripting. So here, the kind of information how you can, preventing that, how you can enforce, for example, the kind of security stuff is when you implement in your environment the DrogonSec. So one of the concerns that we have when we building this platform is, okay, how we can use, even if the platform is open source, for example, how I can use in that perspective. Let's say using the, okay, are we adding the open source in my environment? How you can using that in the safe way? So
Mhm.
basically here, how you can building that in a security way. So some guidance to implementing that. So in terms of supply chain and in continuous integration, how you can using that. If you're using AI, how you can harden your client, for example. So bunch of things that I adding that is it's thinking about how you can implementing that in a safe way. This is another thing here is a CI/CD pipeline, how you can can building that using, for example, the DrogonSec using for CI/CD, how you can implementing that or using that for um, security scanning. I mean, putting your CI/CD or using, for example, thinking in this GitHub action, for example. That's another way you can do that. And let me
Okay.
go to these AI remediations that we add in that. Okay, let me just go to here and I will explain very quickly. I already installed Olama in my virtual machine, as you can see here. And if you go basically DrogonSec scan doc enable AI, this is the way that it should work. Let me just go back here and let's tap DrogonSec. DrogonSec and scan and just go back here is if I put in, let's say, doc here, it's just to set in the folder, okay? But basically I can put in here and they suggest here this internal AI provider Llama. Let me just go back here. Okay, just I don't, it's internal just as I was using another folder, but it's not necessary. I'm just putting here scan and enable. Okay, so if you see here how it works, so they run the normal engine, as you can see here, and they put in here, let's say, running AI remediations. So now they are calling Llama, which is Ollama, which is the AI that I add in that. If you see here, the performance in my machine is too high. They are using that in the first scan because they are using AI. I already installed in that machine, as you can see here. So the performance, of course, they consuming a lot of thing in the first AI because actually they are doing the things, and then after that they go to the collecting those informations, and based on the acknowledgement that they have, do you bring some recommendations? They will looking for the same, I mean, the same vulnerabilities because remember they have some findings. So now they are bringing a new recommendation based on AI. So that's
Okay.
the thing that we are using here.
No,
So do you
yeah. Go right
no,
ahead, Filipi. Sorry.
yeah, no, I'm just asking if someone have any questions about this. I saw that there are kind of people watching us here, and if they have any question, they can type in the chat, just so I can answer it during this AI process.
Yeah, and um, can you mentioned the developer, right? On the developer side, it's so how I guess it would be you mentioned this the since DragonSec is explicitly built for developers and the CI/CD pipelines, which is what you're showing right now, right? Um, what would you say the level, right, of knowledge? I guess what persona would be this tool for, or the level of knowledge, right? It can be somebody that's
Mhm.
starting a career. Where do you see this?
Actually, you see that they are trying to see the error, or I mean, they're trying to find more information. But basically, about acknowledgement. Uh, actually, like the platform is focused on, I mean, the application security guys primarily, and the second
Mhm.
one is focused on developers, but they can help in different layers. Let's say if you're, let's say, a junior guy or even starting in your field, you can, as I said, you can run the tool because again, remember that you are running a platform that you can bring it information to you about the vulnerable code, and not only bring it the information, but they can bring it the knowledge base about, okay, how I can learn in that. But of course, it will depend on you. What's that mean in this case? Sometimes we just want to use into platforms. Just I can go the platform, play, plug and play start. When you did that, and after that you can, okay, let me just see, let's see what is the results. And when you saw the results, we just need to interpret those results. And if you see, okay, how I can learn in that? This is the second step. How I can learn in that? Because if you don't want to learn, you just, okay, you will trust in the results of the tool, but you can be another different professional. So how you can be more critical in this case? So how I can learn it based on that results? So that's the key here in this case, because when you think out of the box, you can learning about that. So simple answer about this question is, okay, you can use it for whatever knowledge you have. If you are a junior guy, you can use in DrogonSec. If you are a senior guy, you can use in DrogonSec. But the way that you can use in the platform is depend on you. Let's say again, in terms of, okay, how I can learning that. I'm just can running and to learning the results, or I can just running and waiting for how they can bring to me another information. Okay. And that's the thing here. Okay, let me just go back here. If you see, okay, I have a problem in my case here, as you can see here, AI enrichment. So, okay, so probably, yeah, I need to check, if you go back here, um, yeah, the problem in my case here is my AI, uh, they didn't get to work in the right way because I need to check the API and specifically. Actually, they should work here. They try to use in Llama, but um, I mean, I don't need to, let's say, adding here the API because they should work here. As you can check the API provider and API key, but it should be working. I'm not sure why it didn't work. I need to check that. I'm just trying to see if they work in this case. Maybe try to use it again. Let's see if they work or if they will pause here. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna answer this quick question live. JT is answering, is this open source or subscription based? This is fully open source, correct, Filipi?
Yes, exactly. I didn't see the question. Isn't there are, okay, the Q&A bottom. Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, it's totally open source and free, so you can use in whatever you want. Just came here in the platform. You have two ways to go here. One is just basically by GitHub. If you see here in my GitHub, Filipi 86 dash DrogonSec or slash DrogonSec. I mean, you can see here DrogonSec is totally open source. It's just Git clone and that's it. If you click in here in full documentations, we'll be directed to the documentations here. Basically, it's as simple like this. And as I said, so you can just enable AI here. I'm just trying to see what happened in my case here. Let me just, maybe I typed something wrong here, but you can use it locally, as I said, free, no API key required, because this is weird. When I execute a requesting something, it's probably something they happen right now with Ollama. This is the
Mhm.
specifically free AI that I put in here. And but if you are using your environment, for example, Anthropic or OpenAI or other platform, you can set here the API. Of course, they will consume your tokens and you need to care about that. But
Yeah.
basically, if you have your own AI, you can setting that here. It's not a problem. It's just possible to use in that. It's pretty much easy to use here.
So,
Okay,
see,
just answer the question.
touching point on that on Olama, since you're talking about it and local, how does the ability to run these models 100% locally address the data privacy concerns that often keep development teams from adopting AI security tools?
Yeah, that's a big concern. I was talking with my yeah, I think I have a problem with the Oleum or something like this. I need to check that what happened. But basically, when you run locally, it's more easy to keep in those data privacy, locally. And that's a big concern that you need to have, mainly for credentials, leak of credentials or other thing. So remember, always you need to getting this information with the other provider. You need to have a kind of agreement between your NDAs with these providers. It depends on the license that you have. I know that's a certain numbers of let's say NDAs or information you can share with those companies. But remember that, and we need to look into that. Sometimes you need to talk with your compliance team and to see, okay, I would like to use on that license, for example, for Anthropic or other, I mean, DeepSec or whatever, another API. So it depends of the pricing that you are paying that, there are kind of level of information that you can share with that. So you need to be aligned with that, with your company, with your compliance or your process, by the way. And but is of course is a concern. But my suggestion is just to talk with your compliance team and mainly and based on the license and that you have with those companies, you need to look into this NDAs and then what kind of information you are sharing, PIIs and other things like this.
That's excellent.
Yeah. And okay, let's see if they will work with AI. If doesn't work, I need to fix probably something. But yeah, I'm just trying to see if we have a more. I'm just see if I can. I'm just getting
The
here.
demo
Oh,
gods.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm just see. How I can do that 1 second. Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can add in that. Okay, DrogonSec. I want to put it this way here. Okay, let's see here. Let's come to here. Yeah, I think doesn't works. Why doesn't work? Oh, let me go back failure. Why this failure context deadline? I'm just checking here. What is the error? Check the API provider. Ah, okay. I'm just checking here. Dash help. Enable API. Model strings. The default is called llama. Checking here. AI dash model. Okay. 1 second. I'm just checking here. What happened? Once we have a time, I'm just checking here. Yeah, oh no, let's go fail. Checking here. Okay, output string. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. I'm just checking here. Checking here. Is working. 1 second, I'm just closing here. I'm just checking if William is working. It's working.
Yeah.
Should working because the error is can be, let's say, the possible, I mean, timeout or something like this. I'm just checking here. You see client in timeout. I'm just checking was that happened. Uh, uh, yes. I'm just copying here to check what is this error. Okay. And okay. Mhm. Mhm. 100%. The name doesn't be much. Where's the model? They don't have it in. Mhm. Hmm. Interesting. They should work. So I'm just trying last once again.
Mhm.
I'm just putting, yeah. Let's see if it works. This doc
Okay.
no makes sense because it's not necessary. When I build that, it's not necessary to put in that. Just he is the target. We are working on that.
Mhm.
I'm just checking this is for the last one, guys. And if not, we can go to the end and I will fix this for the next time. They suggest me to go to another, to putting another provide another AI to test, but I'm not using this right now because I need to creating a proper, let's say, um, a proper API key, but because the idea is just to show you how simple it is. But I am have problem. I need to fix this, but probably can be, I mean, if you go back here, probably the problem can be the a module that I'm using, the model that I'm using here
Okay.
in for Olema, probably. That could be the I'm just finding you here. Okay, I found you here. The possible problem here.
Mhm.
Let's wait for a few minutes more, and if not fix this, we can. Yeah, I mean it's just 1 hour, so we have more 12
Yeah.
minutes.
So
Uh,
just so folks that might have come in later, like where are we at? This is on the remediation side, right?
yeah, exactly.
Seeking the remediation and looking for those recommendations to assist then the security specialist.
Sorry, can you repeat again?
No, this is I was just trying to define the stage that we are so folks now understand what they're seeing on the screen is the
Ah,
AI right
okay.
now. We're doing a little bit of troubleshooting, correct? But the stage
Yeah.
that it's in is on the remediation stage where it's looking to see what recommendations it's going to give you as a security analyst.
Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
we basically we run. Yeah, I think we have the same problem. I need to fix this. But basically, just to explain to you guys, is just the platform they have them just stopping here. I think it's better.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm pause here. Basically, talking about them just disable here, and when you run it specifically, so you see this is the security steps. So they bring the recommendations to you based on the intelligence that they have in the code, a bunch of line of codes. The way that are using to AI is to enrich the way that you can fix that. Because of course,
Hmm.
here, as you can see here, you can see how is the what is the information about the vulnerability. Here is the code vulnerable, and here is how you can fix that manually. Okay, and not only that, but as I said, it has a link here. So how you can enrich this. So that was the stage that we were doing that to trying to helping the guys and to bring the information how they can using, for example, AI to fix everything here. Let me just see. I can put in here. Just see, so I can add in here in that folder. And I want to see. I want to bring this. I should be here. Let me see if I can collect in those informations here. Yeah, not possible to run here. Yes. I think it's better to put in
And
here
then, Felipe,
because.
quick question. Are there any
Mhm.
integrations or to this tool that security teams can benefit from?
Uh, I mean, I was talking with some guys. Nowadays, it's just a CLI, like a binary. In terms of integration, I didn't do any tests specifically about integrations, another thing. But what is the idea for the feature in this case? Is to creating a proper maybe web version just for, let's say, collecting those informations about vulnerable coding and be accessible for other platforms. This is, of course, I'm just starting creating the CLI, but so probably in the future we have a kind of web version just to make this more easy for, let's say, the manager. And when I create that, so probably will be easy to providing the proper API to integrate with another platform, as you said.
Excellent. Do I see any more? Right now, we don't see any more questions. I think in that regard, we've answered any of the questions. We have about 8 minutes left. Anything that we haven't gone over, Felipe, that you feel that we should discuss?
Yeah, if you have any questions, that's your moment. Yeah, I'm just for my side, I just would like to say again, thank you, Raices, for giving this opportunity to share more about DrogonSec. As again, it's a uh, one like I was helping many others open source projects to creating, let's say, other focus on statistical analysis code, and I help into creating for OSINT. But after to helping other projects, I decided to create my own, and this is a pretty nice when you creating this from scratch. And it's not exactly from scratch because it's inspired by, as I said, our sec. And so my challenge right now is to you know to take these projects and to share with these projects at like Black Hat and then DEF CON and other big conference. And how much I spread the message about the project, the community can use in that, and it can bring more features and like pull requests. So that's the main goal here from my side, just to again helping the community to spread the message. And of course, when you work with the open source projects, it's easy to learn sometimes. Okay, sometimes quite complicated to learn more, but in my perspective, I think it's sometimes, as I said, it's easy to use. Again, this is the feature, as I mentioned, branching monitoring. I developed by and specifically a CTO that came to me how you can preventing that or can keeping monitoring those branch for specifically on GitHub or GitLab. If you have automatically, you can add in this guy in this branch, and they can, as you can see here, detect the change, shallow clones, and trying to, and after that they cloning that, running the specifically platform. I mean the DrogonSec, they can report everything. You can set that as an error specifically. They can using that to monitoring um, for GitHub and GitLab and specifically. So here how you can go step by step the requirements. As I said, you can run the latest version. Here you in this case you need to set the specifically token GitHub and GitLab, and you can keeping this and the CI/CD process monitoring any specifically branch. So imagine so how you can monitoring, for example, if you have a developer or even stage, for example, a branch. So whatever thing you have, depends of the name you're using, you can put in DrogonSec there to monitoring to help you to building this in more safer way.
That's excellent. Well, if let me see if we have any more questions on the chat. I don't see any more questions here. We can give it another minute. Thank you, Felipe, for sharing the technology with us. Thank you for building it. Actually, there's a need for application security. Everybody's getting creative, right? We have access to put our brains into applications and actually try to build what we need. And with that comes a lot of growth creativity, but it also comes with a lot of vulnerabilities because not everybody was a developer, not everybody was a security minded person. And definitely with access to tools and comes obviously the balance, right? Things to end, right?
Yeah.
And then anything else you have coming up? I know you have if plug your book. You have your book coming. You're gonna have be at B-sides. What else is coming for Philippines?
Yeah, and actually, I will travel tomorrow. I go to besides
Yeah.
Luxembourg. I will be speaking there at the next 2 days. I'll be doing some presentations there, and it's in May. And after that, I go with I go to besides São Paulo to speaking another conference, which is besides São Paulo. I will be speaking there, and I will be meeting some customers there in Brazil. And after that, I go back to Brazil, and I go back to Portugal. In June, I have Hacker Behind the Codes, which is the event that happened in Lisbon, in Portugal capital. And after that, I have a B-side sport, which is the event organized by me and my wife, and we expect to have a 700 people during the event, which is super cool. And then after that, we probably in June, I expect to launch to have my book in person, which is the TPRM, which is the third party risk management book that I wrote. I'm finished actually this book. I wrote by Pact, which is a very known publisher in the world, and they will publish probably in June officially. They just put in the pre-order in the Amazon website and the Packet website, and I expect it to be in person on DEF CON and probably have a few books there if you'd like to see the guys there, those books there with me, so you can reach me out there just for
Maybe
sign
we
up
can
if
have
you
you
want.
back and then talk about third party risk after the book is
Yeah,
published.
yeah, could be. Yeah,
Excellent.
would be nice.
Well, in that case, thank you so much for your time. Thanks everybody who joined the call. We do have other episodes coming up, so watch our space. Thank you, Felipe, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you guys.
Oh,
Have a
and
great
check out
day. Bye.
DragonSec and GitHub. Felipe's
Yeah.
check out DragonSec and Felipe's GitHub. I forgot the plug.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye.